Yeah, that brings us to our second speaker tonight, who is Reto. Reto is the co-founder and CEO of TestingTime, and has a tremendous experience in user research, market research, and will share some interesting insights, also or partially with regards to the pandemic and how that impacted research, but also in general on the remote research tools that we're more relying on right now. So, Reto, thanks for being here. The stage is yours.
Thank you. So I'm going to share the screen. Do you see it? Can you quickly confirm? Good, thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Alexander, for inviting me. My name is Reto La mmler. I'm co-founder and CEO of TestingTime. I'm based in Zurich. TestingTime itself is based in Zurich, and we have offices in Germany and the UK. Myself, I studied also a while back, 7 years ago, interaction design. While 7 years ago, you didn't differentiate so heavily between UX designers and UX researchers. So the maturity wasn't in general so high as today. That's great. But what I learned back then is like it was very annoying and difficult to get test user participants for your user research study. So I started in 2015 a company called TestingTime, and I wanted to make the test user recruitment as easy as ordering an Uber ride. And fast forward today, we have 500,000 test users in our pool. We support more or less all the different qual and quant user research studies and work with most of the tools out there. So you may think like, yeah, what do you want to share today about tools or remote tools? As Alexander already said, the pandemic happened and it got quite interesting in our space. And before I say why, I want to set a bit of a focus, because if you do a user research study, you have tools in a planning phase. Then you conduct the study itself, where you collect feedback data, and then you analyze and report. Analyze and report is something like where Condense now newly appeared as a solution, planning, maybe Google Docs. But my focus is really in the conduct phase. So what happens? I just trying to arrange quickly my video here, so I see the full thing. Well, this is a chart of our like the breakup of test user recruitment for remote or in-house studies. The purple one is in-house. As you see, it has always been basically 2/3 of our orders were for in-house, in person, going, sending people into a lab or the office of our customers, and 1/3 was remote. And as you can imagine, in March, when the lockdown happened, I started to cry because like in a way, our main product, delivering test users to your office in-house, dropped to basically zero. All our customers had to work from home. Nobody could receive test users anymore. And yeah, for a moment we were like, wow, holy cow, what are we gonna do? But as you see, the green one, luckily, we managed to transform a lot of our customers into remote. We were surprised how little our customers knew, because they were just so used to in-house studies about which tool to use and how to conduct. So we did a lot of like content and webinars to help them transform. Now, luckily, we're almost back to a normal order volume, mostly remote still. But of course, from a business point of view, this is now my entrepreneur hat. It's like remote studies or recruitments are cheaper than in-house, or revenue-wise, we are not back to normal yet. But it's a really good trend, because now way more customers come and say, hey, I like remote research and I want to adopt it more. In the remote area you differentiate between moderated and non-moderated. This is the split we have. Almost 70% is moderated, where you talk face to face, and unmoderated is like async. You don't talk directly to the test users. You just receive a video with a think out loud video where you can analyze afterwards. And I want to show you now in my talk a bit which tools work best with us, but maybe also a bit of a layout, like why these tools work and what are the challenges. So we differentiate between this two research stacks. So green is us. We are sort of just a panel or an external panel and pool. And we want to work with all these different research tools, whether it's unmoderated or moderated. And so you see, this is not like one provider compared to what you see on the right side, where you have like, this is typically UserZoom or usertesting.com. They provide everything like in one solution. We do believe user researchers shouldn't be tied to one platform, because there is sort of a bias of test users, a bias of how they do and participate in tests. You have a very narrow set of research methodologies. That's why we strongly believe you should, like, depending on the research question you have, you should choose the best tool and get the people from a provider like us. What we also see now, due to the pandemic, these platforms, they often come to us. It's rapid user tests, UserZoom, and so they sometimes cannot, they don't have people in certain geographical areas, or they don't have that narrow profile capability we have. So we will also usually deliver for certain studies to them. As you can see, this brings a lot of challenges, because here are many tools and here are tools, they all need to work somehow with us. And until the pandemic, we always had like really two challenges, like sending great participants. There are no misfit, and they are no-shows. So people have to reliably participate. Over time, we got this under control. We built algorithms to predict misfits and to predict unreliable test users. So it became a better and better experience for our customers. But now with all these remote tools, we have now a third challenge, which is like the tech. And yeah, for us, it's quite hard, because to deliver remote test users is cheaper, and we have a third problem to solve, is tech check, you know. And for customers, it's like they spend often like 5-10 minutes figuring out how to really get access or get the test user onboarded to actually participate in the test. We try to fight this with instructions for customers and test users, so where they can ahead of time learn what do I have to have. We're experimenting with some tech checkers where test users can quickly run a basic check. Do I have everything? Is my Chrome extension installed? Is my network fast enough? That's still like in the lab mode, but yeah, we as a provider want to solve the problem too. So it's just a seamless experience for you, and you can bring whatever tool you want, and you can research on your target group. So now enough about the challenges and where we try to help you. So first, I want to talk about moderated tools for moderated remote studies. And here is sort of what we see the most on our side: Skype, private Skype, whereby used to be called Appearin, Zoom, obviously, Google Meet, and Lookback. And if you break this down now, you have different factors to choose the right one. As you can see, out of the 5 here, only one is a dedicated research tool, Lookback. All the others are basically conference tools, which is most of the times good enough to just do a basic user test or interview. So we made like a little table. This is also written down in a blog post. So you need to know, like, what do you want to do? Like, what kind of method, the usability test, just an interview or maybe a focus group? Do you need moderator and observer roles? So like, interesting it is, for example, here, if you want to run a focus group, Lookback is not the right tool. This is really specialized to do one-to-one usability tests. But the nice thing it has like an observer role. So people, your stakeholders can watch the test without exposing yourself to the test users. That's something like quite irritating if you use like, let's say Google Meet or whereby if people kind of connect into it, they appear and the test user is a bit overwhelmed because like, why are there other people in this conference call? So this is where Lookback is something strong in. But like Lookback is not good for focus groups because here you want to get in an online room people together like us tonight. And of course, these conference tools, they don't, most of them don't have this moderate and observer role. Zoom has it partially. What's also something you should look for when you choose your tool, and I'm not saying there's like one tool which solves it all. You should actually try out, and depending on what you want to achieve, you change the tool. But Lookback has timestamping and note-taking. Again, it's a dedicated user research tool. In a timeline, you can add, even the observers can add findings as the session goes on, so you don't have to rewatch the whole video afterwards. Zoom has it in a way, partially again in the webinar modus. Recording and playback is there for all of them. I personally, when I do user research, I never record. I just make sure the note-taking is good enough so I don't have to replay the videos. Screen sharing is something very essential. In a moderator session, the test user basically opens your test object and shares the screen with you, just the way I do it right now with you guys. If Alex was the moderator, he would tell me, like, can you try to do this? And you can watch me. But there's one interesting thing, like remote control of the researcher desktop. That could be very handy, and only Zoom or what is the other one? There's some other tools that also allow that. If you cannot give the test object to the test user due to security issues or technical issues, you could actually allow the test users to remote control the researcher's desktop. And so you can do the reverse role and still do a regular user test, just remote control. Then the last page, of course, sometimes you want to do a test on a smartphone. They all do smartphone support, but this is then getting to the next level, especially in the test user side, that this works. For example, if you go with Lookback, they need to install like the Participate app again, or on the browser an extension. That's another challenge. So you see, there are like different challenges with every tool. There's no one tool which solves it all, which we always know it's super easy. What we kind of learned is that with Zoom, it works the most. And we partnered with Lookback, and we kind of put a lot of effort to make that also a seamless experience. But that kind of shows the challenges. And depending on your research question, your study design, you have to choose one or the other tool. So at this point, to wrap up sort of the moderated tools, go on our blog. We have a lot of guidelines and tool recommendation and how to handle NDAs, privacy concerns, even like COVID topics. So I recommend you to sign up there or just read through it. You will find like even a guideline for moderated user tests or a user testing kit where we just support you in planning, conducting, and analyzing tests. So now if we switch to the world of unmoderated tools, or it gets a bit more wild and diverse and different. So there's no more comparison like I showed you in the table before, because every tool tries to solve different things, tries to position themselves differently. So I just am going to walk you through some of them. I'm also not an expert in each one of them. I know what you can do with them, but they are so different. And at the end, it's really like up to you whether you want to use it or not. I mean, unmoderated has a lot of advantages in general. You can like collect like quantitative samples, so much more things. You can have the test user being totally uninterrupted. When you moderate them, it's always like the moderator test user setting, but in an unmoderated case, it's really unattended, uninterrupted in their own natural environment and time. And so you can get sometimes much deeper insights. Hotjar, all of you know, this is the first tool. You can use it to just it passively records the user journeys in the back. It then shows you heat maps on how your users navigate. You can actually replay single sessions. So we use this also TestingTime, how people navigate through your site, and you can just then analyze where people get irritated, do they jump back and forth, where do they read, drop out, etc. Great tool, but it's not a tool you should use. I mean, it's not the only tool you should use. You should always use this as sort of the backup tool, which just runs behind the scene, and you can use this as a second opinion, especially when products are released, up and running and used, and you can just use it to optimize existing products. All the other tools, moderated sessions is much better if you're early stage, if you test mockups, etc. And this is really mostly for running websites. Usabilla was acquired last year by SurveyMonkey. I never used this, but I find it quite compelling because you can just like ask little feedbacks. You embed a script into your website and ask for little feedbacks. You can even like snap a little screen area and provide feedback whether you like something or not. So it's really like sort of like survey type feedback on a live website again. Optimal Workshop is a pretty famous tool too. Most people know it for the optimal sort. It's like an online cart sorting. They have a lot of other tools down to a survey tool. A lot of our customers use optimal sort in combination with TestingTime. Optimal Workshop has also their own panel, but it's very Australian, New Zealand, American, and we have a very strong panel in Europe. That's why the combination works very well. Dscout, another company we are talking to more often. This is for diary studies. Also here, during Corona times, pandemic times, hasn't been used so heavily, but the idea is here, the research study it's a lengthy one. It goes on during maybe 2 weeks to 1 month, where people have to collect like a diary, like feedback. They make pictures, they comment on things, shopping behavior, how you use it, how you travel with public transportation. So there are different things. We have done a case study with Zalando where they wanted their customers to kind of protocol their unboxing experience, return shipment. So there's like many steps in the customer journey, and you cannot frame this in one 45-minute test. So Dscout also has a US panel, but for Europe, we partner up also together, and works very great in combination if you want to collect user feedback from people from their everyday life over a longer period of time. Loop 11 just had last week a webinar with the founder and CEO of Loop 11. This is sort of similar to UserZoom, but in a way a bit leaner, cheaper. But their heavy thing is really unmoderated quant study thing. They also introduce moderated user testing, but I personally think like their strength is in the unmoderated area, and the other thing is pretty new, and I would use their rather look back. But you can do a lot of the things we just saw before: heat maps, click streams, and surveys, etc. Also with them, we're building up a partnership to make it a seamless experience to use them with us. And I think this is the last one, usability hub. So sometimes you don't need like this 10, 15, or even 30 minutes test result. Sometimes it's just a click test. Where do you click to do XYZ? Or you have preferences like which one do you prefer? 5 seconds test, what have you seen? What can you remember after seeing something 5 seconds? So they're really strong in that. So these experimental short tests. What do we use at TestingTime? Well, Google Docs, planning and analysis. Of course, I'm happy to try Condense at some point, or our product team, UX team. I think there is a lot of going on at the moment in this area. Planning is still quite straightforward. But I think here when we conduct studies, we use Lookback and Google Meets for moderated remote research. Google Meets on iPhone is pretty cool with the screen sharing. We keep Hotjar running most of the time in the background. Use also Optimal Workshop, and for online surveys, you use Google Forms. So that's sort of what we use here. And of course, we are experimenting with all these tools because we have to make sure we understand this tool and our test users can actually easily onboard with them. You remember I told you about the technology problems, you know, and so we have to keep testing these tools and writing guidelines or this extend the tech checker to just make it a seamless experience. I kind of want to close with this quote: a fool with a tool is still a fool. So yes, just because you have a great tool doesn't make your user research better. Really follow this 3 steps. Define your research goal first. Really, what do you want to find out? Then choose the right research method. Should you do this qual, quant, moderated, unmoderated, mixed methods, diary over a longer period of time? And only then you say, okay, and how can we solve this, implement this best? Which is the right tool? So I really, I think at the end of the day, the tool is the third priority here. And that's it from my side. And now I'm looking forward to answer some questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Reto. Also, you please imagine the virtual applause of almost 40 people coming to you.
Thank you.
We do have some questions. And if there are more, please put them in the chat now. So one question was, Julia asked that, or said that she's a big fan of Demodesk, which is a startup from Munich, and because you can hand over the control to the user. Have you used this, tried this, heard of it before?
No. What is it called? Demodesk.
Demodesk.
So it does a similar thing to when we go back. It's like also remote control handover.
Yeah. As far as I know, their main focus is for sales and customer service. Talks. But apparently, I've also didn't know that Demodesk can be used in that context.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
And then there was a question from Anya, which Sandro already took care of, but still we can ask it. So she says she has a very specific user group for testing, for example, in the with chronic diseases. Would you be able to recruit people in that?
It's a very good question. So when I introduced like our big, where is it? Yeah, when you said like we have like all these people, 500,000 people, it's still super difficult for us to find this needle in the haystack. That's why we introduced in April a product called Private Pool, because we believe sometimes our customers have much better access to this targets group. And so we provide the platform, the entire service around it, but you can, with Private Pool, basically build your own pool. You can co-brand our experience with your brand and have your own landing page. And then you go out into your channels, acquire test users, and then just like a normal order, you go in and say, okay, now I need 5 people for a user test from my private pool, and then we handle everything around it. So that's how we want to address this, because for us to go into each and every niche target group is just impossible, but we want to enable our customers together with our private pool to do that.
Makes sense. Cool. And then Andreas asks, he says he's building up the user research team at his company, and he's quite new to the area. So what do you have a recommendation for him regarding unmoderated testing with regards to tools?
So if he's quite new, I'm not sure, to the company, to the field, the user research field.
Hi, I just to the company and the UX research field.
Okay.
I come from academia, so and now I just try to bring my research skills into the company, but it's quite different than in academia. So, and now there was a conversation which tool we should implement first, because we're a startup as well, and I think it's difficult to buy licenses for different products.
Okay, so my spontaneous answer is do first moderate it, use a basic conference tool, break the ice with your target group, get a feel for them, because if you go straight unmoderated, then you have, I mean, as a user researcher, you need to feel your target group, talk to them, learn about them, and then you can choose later on an unmoderated tool if you feel like, okay, the product, the website, whatever is up and running, and now I need to measure on an ongoing basis feedback. But I think if you're early stage and you don't know your target group, it's the easiest to just talk to them in a moderated way. And for that, all you need is Google Meets and TestingTime, or however you want to talk to them or find them. You know.
Okay, thank you.
I hope you guys don't mind my jumping in.
Sure.
One more question, but sure, go ahead now that you're there.
Oh, I apologize. Okay. Okay, thank you. So I'm at a similar position to Andreas, where I'm at that crossroads where I have done moderated interviews with them, some user interviews with them. I do know my users quite well. And now I'd like to get into the unmoderated stuff a bit more. Currently, we're only using Hotjar. Do you have like a jumping off point from here? Any recommendations from the point where you've already started with the moderated stuff?
My first question would be, what is your goal? Is it just like getting different data, or, I mean, you need to have sort of, what is your goal? Yeah.
Our goal essentially would be to increase time spent on the site is our number one goal. Yeah, I would say that's our main goal at the moment. When you say goal, do you mean specific business goals in terms of KPIs and conversions that we're aiming at, or
what you try to find out? My Hotjar kind of shows you all that time spent, the journey, and so what is your goal? You want to increase the time users spend on your website?
Yeah, which I guess would be loosely tied to things that frustrate them, things that they enjoy. I want to find out what makes the whole experience more enjoyable for them, I guess.
Yeah, but honestly, this is quite
a broad question,
because I think I always say with unmoderated, you kind of find where you have a problem, you know, and with moderated, qualitative, deep research, you learn why you have a problem there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think, I don't know all the details, but if you just want to, if you already see in Hotjar things are odd, then I would just go back and kind of research on why are they jumping off. You could do it with like rapid user tests maybe, where you can get videos where people think out loud and you can watch them, but you can also do this with just talking to them in a moderated session, you know. But I think, yeah, if you want to have like more qualitative comments in a non-moderated way, then use like one of those video tools like rapid user test, user solutions, use a Zoom, but that's heavyweight, so it's really budget. There is like Loop 11, of course, I showed you before. So that may be a next step where you can have people think out loud while they try to accomplish your tasks, you know. And we are going to publish soon a pretty big guide on when and how to use moderated versus unmoderated. So maybe even then you can find some more clarification.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And I think we have one last good closing question, so to say, that's run for anyone. So while using these remote tools and doing remote research, how can you kind of get the empathy of users, and how do you what's described as get the non-cognitive actions or immersivity of the test users? I think, yeah, that's interesting. Also, now that we're remote, how can we get the feeling, the full bandwidth of in-person testing?
This is a my answer may be a bit biased because I want in-person research come back again, because it has been one of our USPs. Because this is why we have in-person research. You can you have a much better feel because you see the person in front of you, the body movements, reactions. You see much more. Of course, like all these remote tool providers would counter argue my point. So I do think, don't think like there is one tool or one method solving all your problems. I think as a user researcher, you should always keep experimenting with different tools and different methods. Even now, like the pandemic has come, and it's coming to an end, hopefully. Maybe things will change. You know, they're just like, be curious and try out things. And if you feel like I cannot measure the empathy, or cannot kind of tap into, I cannot build empathy to my users, then keep on trying. There's no holy grail, but maybe if you experiment with methods and tools and yeah, you discover that actually here with this setup, I learn the most and can improve the product the best. So.
Perfect. Yeah, I think this is also maybe a good follow-on topic then for the breakout rooms now. So first of all, thank you, Reto, for the talk and all the great answers.